Hello everyone, my name is Chris and welcome back to another game review. Today I'm gonna be reviewing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and as usual I'm quickly gonna go through the story of this game to tell in short what this game is all about. Then I'm gonna share my own opinions and thoughts about this game, so in case you didn't play it, one big spoiler alert across the screen. And yeah guys, just click away from this video and come back after you play a game if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to, it is totally okay. But if you really are interested in my opinions and thoughts about this game right now, then stay with me till the end of this video and let's get started. Alright guys, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a first-person action-adventure linear game that was developed by Machine Games and published by Bethesda Softworks. It was developed in Motor Engine and it was released at the end of 2024, which was a really nice refreshment to gaming, you know. And yeah, at the end of 2024 we got this amazing adventure which I was extremely excited about, because for many years we didn't got any Indiana Jones games, and I always was a huge fan of Indiana Jones, especially when I was a kid. I watched all Indiana Jones movies hundreds of times and I freaking loved them, and I still love them to today's day. It's such a classic, you know, cult classic of a movie, and I'm sure this woke a lot of nostalgia for a lot of older people, you know, and all that. Anyway, story of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle obviously follows our main hero, Dr. Indiana Jones, and the game starts off with a scene from the first Indiana Jones movie where he's hunting the totem in the jungle, you know. And literally the entire scene, everything, the gameplay is literally copied from the movie in the game, and everything that happens in the movie actually happens in the game, and all the camera angles and everything is identical to the movie. So that was something extremely nostalgic for me and something that I absolutely enjoyed. The intro to the game was so cool and I really enjoyed playing that part. After you play that intro scene, the game cuts off to Dr. Indiana Jones being at the university at night. You know, somebody breaks into the university, and that's where he finds this big giant guy called Locus that broke into the library, and he was like, okay dude, what are you doing here? You know, they start to have a little conversation, but he realizes that Locus is not there to talk. He literally came to steal the artifact that Indiana Jones found, and they have a fight. He escapes with the artifact, and that's pretty much where the entire adventure starts. Indiana Jones from that point is on the mission to find out who was that big guy, why he stole that cat mummy artifact, you know. So he starts to travel across the world and, you know, following all the clues and everything. He goes from Vatican to Egypt, from Egypt to Sukhothai, you know. He travels across the world to get the answers, and he realizes that Nazis are of course behind everything. That's where we meet the main villain called Voss. So Dr. Voss is a Nazi scientist who wants to collect these little stones. When formed together, they make something called the Great Circle, which pretty much allows you to teleport anywhere you want, and it has something to do with the Bible, you know, and Noah's Ark at the end of the game, you know. That's where they end up. They end up finding Noah's Ark and the place where these stones go, and pretty much Voss and Nazis of course have an evil plan to weaponize those artifacts and turn them into a weapon where they can teleport anywhere they want and just attack them during the World War II, you know. And Dr. Indiana Jones, being always a good archaeologist, wants to stop him. So through the entire game you are basically solving puzzles, mysteries, and trying to stop Voss and Nazis from their evil plan. Altogether, it's just a classic Indiana Jones plot that we witnessed in all Indiana Jones movies. So obviously they kept that in the game as well, which is something that I extremely enjoyed. The story is super simple to understand, you know, but you know, all that mystery effect that was added to the game and all these tombs and mysteries and puzzles you're solving through the game, and all that adventure and all that climbing and fighting and sneaking around and everything was so very well done and mixed with the story. It was just purely enjoyable, and the story itself was just simply 10 out of 10. I absolutely loved every moment in this game's story. So story is something that's really not boring. It's easy to understand, you know. So this game is also a great game for kids to play. You know, violence is literally minimal in the game. Or, you know, it's just very, very enjoyable adventure. It's like playing Indiana Jones movie, you know. You have that whip you can crack around during the gameplay, which I'm gonna talk in a moment, and all that. So story of the game, damn, it was very fun. This was one really, really fun action adventure linear game. Totally worth playing and paying money for it. Totally worth it. Alright, let's talk about the gameplay, which is obviously a major part of every video game. So, when I found out that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is gonna be a first-person game, I was like, I'm not really sure how to feel about that. You know, it's an adventure action game, you know, it's Indiana Jones. How are you gonna put that in first person? There's going to be a lot of fighting, you know, sneaking around, solving puzzles and all that. Like, first person just didn't feel right for this game for me at first. But then I booted the game on, started playing it, and hell yeah, they actually nailed the shit out of it. So this game was very well done in first person, and I'll tell you why. Like, every time you're worried about not seeing Indiana Jones, you know, like his character in third person, you know, you don't get to see Indiana Jones, wrong. There is a bunch of amazing, very well done, very well acted, very well voiced cutscenes, plenty of them, and you're gonna see Indiana Jones a lot through the game. Also, whenever you use your whip or whatever when you're climbing, the game switches to third person. Every time you're solving some puzzles or something, game will switch to third person and you get to see Indiana Jones for a good part. So it's not really fully first person game. Whatever, you know, do something, some actions that switch to third person, the game will go to third person, you know, and you get to see your character, you know. It's actually very well designed and very cleverly done, camera angles and all that, you know. Switching from first person to third person is very smoothly done. My head doesn't hurt, you know. Everything is very well done with these first to third person transitions. So that's something that I really was surprised about, and I actually realized that putting Indiana Jones in a first person it was not a bad idea. And honestly, it's the only Indiana Jones game that has first person. I don't remember there was ever any Indiana Jones game done in first person. So I really like that the developers actually dared to try out something new and go with unpopular opinion, and it actually turned out completely fine in my opinion. So when it comes to the rest of the gameplay, there is a bunch of different activities and things you can do in this game. Even though it's a linear game, it is separated, like I said, into different sections because you travel a lot around the world in the game. So game is separated into few different levels. You got Vatican, you got Egypt, you got Sukhothai. There is one part you play at Shanghai. There is one part played at Himalayas. You know, some of these parts of the game are not as big as these other parts, like Vatican, Egypt, and Sukhothai. Those are three locations where map is. Imagine it like a Metro Exodus. It's a big map that you get to move around, but it's still not an open world. And there is a lot of activities around these areas that you can complete, a lot of mysteries you can solve, a lot of things to collect, a lot of side quests to complete. It is very cleverly designed and it's fun. It's not boring, you know, even though it's not a open world game, it feels amazing. This game is a proof that not every game has to be an open world game, and I honestly am kind of getting tired of everything being open world. So Indiana Jones and the Great Circle did an amazing job with this. They showed players that they can have fun in a linear world that is actually very well designed. So I really liked that. So like I said, there's a bunch of activities, you know, and exploring. Whenever you go exploring, that can be either like a side quest that actually takes you into some tomb where you find out some things, find notes, find artifacts that you can collect through the game and stuff like that. Sometimes exploring will lead you to a hidden stash of money and gold that you can use to upgrade your skills. Yes, the game has soft skills, and what's actually fun about it, you can actually open your journal and go to the skills, and you can actually zoom in and read every skill of the paper. Like, there is so many different skills. For example, skill for pulling your enemies from behind with a Indiana Jones' whip and choking him out instantly. Then you later collect the skill for doing that on bigger enemies that are stronger. Then skill for grabbing enemies, throwing enemies. There is bunch of these cool skills and not a single RPG element. This game doesn't have a single RPG element, which is something that I highly appreciate, because everything these days has health bars and RPG elements, and I'm freaking sick of it and tired of it. I don't know why they do that so much. Like, devs obviously do so many things with these RPG elements. I don't know why, but not Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This game is completely RPG elements free, and it's just the old school approach where you actually explore things around the game, unwield them, collect stuff. You know, all the skills can be collected through the levels in a way of books. So you explore the level, you find a book, you collect that book, and now you teach the skill from that book. Once you collect the book, you need to have enough adventure points and to unlock the book, and once you unlock it, that skill is obtained, it's learned. So when I say adventure points, that's kind of currency besides money in this game that you will need to upgrade your skills. There is money that you can use to buy stuff, of course, but adventure points are obtained by exploring the levels, collecting the notes. At one point in the game, Indiana Jones got the camera, old camera, World War II camera with a film, and you can walk around and take pictures of so many things around the environment, people and scriptures inside the tombs. You know, whatever Indiana Jones finds interesting, he can take photo of. In the top left corner of your screen, you will have a photograph icon, and then you can take photos of these things, and that's one way to collect adventure points. Another way, like I said, is exploring the environment, tombs, collecting notes, doing side quests, all these kind of things. So looting is also an interesting part of this game. You can walk around these levels and find loot around. Sometimes it's going to be fruit like bananas, apples, pears, you know. That's what gives you stamina boost when you eat it. And food like, I don't know, breads, cross nuts, you know, all these kind of delicious things you can eat that will give you a health boost. Also, you find bandages around Nazi camps, and you know, by exploring the environment in general, you find these bandages which are used for healing. So you won't heal on yourself, you actually have to use bandages to heal. Also, while upgrading these skills and stuff, you will upgrade the slots for carrying food and fruits, which is another interesting thing. When it comes to combat, there are a few types of combat, actually 3 approaches. You can go stealth, which is the most recommendable in my opinion. You sneak around, you can grab literally almost any object that you see around you that looks like a weapon. You can literally grab a freaking brush and knock the enemies out. So stealth is pretty simple in this game. You can throw stuff with a right click for distraction. Whenever you're holding the object in your hands in bottom right corner, you can see its durability, and once durability is out, the object is going to break. But don't worry, there's plenty of them around the environment, like pickaxes, hammers, billy clubs. You know, all these things can be used to take the enemies out stealthily from behind. And but depending by the object you're holding in your hands, the stealth takedown animation changes, which is something pretty cool. There's some pretty funny stealth takedown animations. There's also little comedical parts of Indiana Jones, just like in the movie. There's always something funny, and it's the same thing in the game. Sometimes it's just silly, and it's what makes Indiana Jones so much interesting. Then second approach is a melee combat. That's when enemies actually spot you and they will start to fight you. They will try to throw things at you, they will surround you, they will hit you, they will grab shovels, hammers, whatever they can around them and try to hit you, you know, and that way kill you. So with the W button you can block, so you can block and parry the attacks, and that way you can strike back. Sometimes it's better to run if there's too much enemies and grab some object in your hand to fight. It's sometimes much harder to fight with your fists, but sometimes you don't have a choice. So you will kind of have to think a little bit and look around the environment. You can use the environment in so many clever ways. It's all up to a player. Also, there is a legendary Indiana Jones whip, which you can always use to knock the object out of the enemy's hands. And for the end, there is the loudest approach, which is shooting. Yes, it's Indiana Jones, it's World War II, it has guns, obviously. So shooting is something that I was actually very surprised about in this game. I didn't even thought you would be able to grab a weapon. But you can actually grab every gun Nazis or other enemies in this game have. At the classic Indiana Jones outfit, you're gonna have the revolver, which Indy can always use if he has bullets. And then you can also grab any other weapons. You just come to it, pick it up with F. The only thing is that you cannot reload it. So the only weapons that can be reloaded are the ones you wear at your disguise, which I'm gonna come to in a second. But yeah, shooting overall feels really nice in this game. For example, bolt action rifles will usually one-shot the enemies or two shots. Shotguns also pretty powerful, one shot at the close range most of the time. While pistols and, you know, maybe carbines, some other semi-automatic weapons will take more shots to kill the enemies. However, damage is not really realistic from the guns. You know, sometimes you're gonna shoot the enemy at point blank in the face and he somehow survives. I don't know how is that possible. But yeah, it's Indiana Jones game, you know, it's how it goes with these type of adventure games. It would be too realistic and it would kill all the adventure vibe and everything Indiana Jones vibe if you could just one-shot the enemies and the anatomy of the bullets and everything would be realistic. So that's why they made it this way, which again is completely okay in my opinion. Then, like I said, disguises. When it comes to stealthing, the best way to stealth is to simply find a disguise around the level. So there are 3 disguises you can have at each of these levels. The one you usually obtain at the beginning, the second one has to be found somewhere through the side quest or by exploring the map. So that second disguise is usually better, and once you wear it, the enemies will see you as one of them, and as long as you don't hit them, attack them, shoot around or whatever, they won't touch you. So yeah, it's the best way to stealth. But if you, for example, try to steal money, just like in Skyrim, you cannot steal the money if they are watching you. They will immediately attack you and be like, hey, why are you stealing that, and try to kill you, you know, for doing that. So it is recognizable that this game has been published by Bethesda. You know, it has a lot of these Bethesda gameplay features in it, so the HUD and stuff like that. It's like the way you fight, the movement feels fighting is, I would say, it feels very similar to Dishonored, just like Indiana Jones version of it, obviously. But overall, it's very well done. Then Journal is something I mentioned earlier, but yeah, you can find a lot of cool stuff around here, like side quests, all the notes and everything you collect are stored in your journal, so you can pull them out anytime, read them, whatever, you know, find some clues. For example, there are safes around the map that are locked with a code, and sometimes you will have to pull out these notes to find a safe combination. Sometimes the safe combination is hidden somewhere around the room through the puzzles. For example, there was one safe that has like this little chessboard, and there's a paper next to it that explains how that game is played. And once you read the letter and realize all that, then you can start working on the safe combination, and if you're smart enough, you actually can open the safe and find valuable stuff inside. Sometimes you're gonna find money inside the safe, sometimes ammo, sometimes it's gonna be another skill book. So these safes are very interesting thing to play around if you are a fan of puzzles, you know, and using your brain. When it comes to puzzles in this game, holy shit, man, they actually made them hard. You know, I actually had to turn the YouTube on and look up to some puzzles because I just couldn't figure out how to solve them. They're, like, you need to be brainiac for puzzles in this game. I'm not kidding. This was the most challenging game with puzzles I have ever played. I don't remember any game like stressing me with puzzles this much. So puzzles were pretty hardcore. Like, they're not messing around with that. And like, that's something that I really also appreciated. Like, you actually have to use the brain to solve things and puzzles around the game. You know, the game is not pointing out to anything. Like, you have to figure it out yourself. So that's pretty cool. At the Suhotai part of the game, you have this boat, for example. So the entire level is like flooded, and you have a boat that you hop into and just drive around the map. That's how you transport yourself from one location to another. So that was an interesting feature, you know, that was pretty cool. Altogether, when it comes to gameplay, my final thoughts are that it's very well designed gameplay with very well designed world, and like, it's very interactive, it's very interesting. Everything looks really cool, feels really cool, like it really gives those Indiana Jones vibes. Gameplay is also combined with some very well done soundtracks, totally Indiana Jones vibe soundtracks, you know, very similar and almost even the same to the ones in the movie. So everything is just so cool. Like, it really feels like old school 40s World War II Indiana Jones adventure. Like, it has that classic plot and look through the entire game. Like, options in the game are very customizable, from the HUD to, you know, some other things like outfits. You unlock some different outfits in the game if you buy the like premium deluxe version of the game, something like that. You can change even the color of your whip to black, and you can even take the Temple of Doom outfit instead of normal indie outfit. So I really like how they tributed all, you know, Indiana Jones movies, like through something in the game, through the entire game. Like, you can find things that are very similar to things in movie. So that's pretty cool, and that definitely, this game had a fun gameplay. It was not one of those boring, unpolished gameplays. Everything, like, it's polished, it feels nice, makes sense. It's real, like, adventure style, Indiana Jones style game. And honestly, this was one of the most interesting and fun adventure games that I ever played, and definitely the best Indiana Jones game I ever played. Totally worth it. And for the end, as usual, let's talk about graphics and optimization of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So when it comes to this game's visuals, damn, the game looks absolutely gorgeous. Level of detail is great, Lightning is great. Like, you can especially see that when exploring tombs and, you know, entering there with torches, you know, and lighting the way in front of you, or like walking generally around the world looking at the shadows, foliage in the jungle, for example, stuff like that. Like, graphically, game looks very modern, very nice. It's really beautiful looking game, and I played it on 1080p resolution and 60 plus FPS. I had no issues with the frame rate or whatever. However, my settings were not completely maxed out. The only setting I had to put on low is dynamic resolution, something like that it was. Basically what it does, it expands the resolution scale. For some reason, if I put it on anything more than low, the game drops frame rate to 1520 and it's just unplayable, and I don't even notice the difference. Like, visually, I don't know, I'm not even sure what that setting does. It says that it like expands the resolution scale, so I guess low is the only right one for my PC. But in general, you will need pretty strong hardware for this game. There's a lot of details like shadows and, you know, draw distance, you know, a lot of great details. So yeah, it will require hell of a good PC, or like a bit stronger PC to run this game. So like I said, I played it on 1080p on almost all ultra maxed out settings, 60 plus FPS most of the time, no bugs or anything. However, I did encounter some bugs, like characters not doing things they're supposed to do during quests. So you have to restart the checkpoint, come to that place again, and then somehow they unbug and do what they have to do. Sometimes I wasn't able to pick up stuff from the table or whatever, interact with anything, so I had to restart the checkpoint again to fix that bug. Another thing I noticed is, like, if you alt tab and come back to the game, you are not able to open your inventory with a tab anymore. You have to either change the inventory button, hotkey it to another button, or completely restart the entire game for that to unbug. So for some reason the game is slightly buggy, but those are not really game-breaking bugs that make it unplayable or whatever. So I mentioned at what settings I played this game and at what resolution, and my PC specs are next. My GPU is RX 6600 XT. My CPU is Ryzen 7 3700X 3.60 GHz 8-core processor, and my RAM memory is 16 gigabytes, 2 slots by 8. So yeah, that was completely enough for me to run this game on almost all ultra maxed out settings at 1080p resolution. If I tried any higher resolution and had a better monitor, I obviously couldn't run this game. So yeah, I have a 1080p setup, which is still fine for me and my needs. So yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this game review. If you did, then go ahead and leave a like, share, comment, or subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It is totally fine. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Links are down below in the description, so check that out as well. Again, if you want. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's fine, guys. I love you. I appreciate all of your support and everything you've done for me and my channel so far. You guys are amazing, and I'll definitely see you in the next videos. Chris out.